know, it may just be me, but I really got a feeling like we could catch fire and have a great season, huh? Now, who's with me?
Woo! The electric in the air!
Sometimes may be good, sometimes may be
The Cleats First, Logic Second Football Podcast with your hosts, Alexander Lauber and Phil Almodovar.
Welcome back, one and all, to Cleats First, Logic Second, and Phil, does it feel good to say that once again?
It feels great to say that once again, Alex. We are back and better than ever and ready to talk about the world of football once again.
There you go. It's been a crazy couple of months since we last made an appearance for those UCL and UEL videos that you weren't even in because life just gets in the way sometimes. But nonetheless, we're back. We're better than ever. Since then, just to recap, for those of you who don't know, I've been continuing along with Twitch streams over at twitch.tv/cleatsandlogic. We'll be getting back to regular scheduled programming there shortly. But this is the perfect place to pick back up, Phil. And we're going to be changing our format just a little bit. Let's give a little bit of context to that. So the podcasts that have traditionally been topic-based will be moving towards a weekly recap in which we will be discussing the matches from the prior week and the top news stories to come out of those matches. So on that note, Phil, why don't you start us off with Friday's fixtures, and we'll dig into the stories to be found there.
Sure, and Alex, the biggest match from Friday, I think, was a shock to everyone in the football world. FC Augsburg getting a 2-1 victory over Bayern Munich, definitely shaking up the title race in the Bundesliga, as now Bayern Munich are just 1 point clear of Borussia Dortmund.
Look, and it's really hard to justify losing matches or dropping points regardless with that strong of a Bayern Munich side. But at the same time, we're starting to see these difficulties and problems with some of the players and quarantine restrictions when it comes to them coming to the forefront. Bayern is apparently addressing this. And again, at the end of the day, we're not going to go too in-depth into that and to the ideologies behind that. However, hopefully things can be figured out at the Bavarian capital, because that's not, showings like this that are lackluster or what have you, it really shakes up the foundation and it makes you question how strong a team Bayern are. And it shouldn't be a question, period.
Absolutely, Alex. That was definitely a shock. We'll see if Bayern could turn it around in the coming weeks. We move on to Saturday. Lots of crazy matches going on Saturday, but Alex, I don't think there was a crazier match in terms of the result than Watford versus Manchester United. Where do we even begin to unpack this?
Yeah, I think let's start off with the story going into that matchup. Ole Gunnar Solskjær, with his run of form up to that point, yes, we know that they just came off of an international break. However, before that, he was really on the ropes. This was the match that he needed to show up, or he needed his side to show up, I should say, and show why they have faith in their manager and how they can back his ideologies. And this was the polar opposite to what that could have been. An embarrassing 4-1 thrashing by Watford. And a thrashing is what it was, Phil.
It absolutely was a thrashing, Alex. Manchester United's defense the entire match just looked lost. Harry Maguire seemed to be setting up an offside trap, even though the rest of his defense was not playing the same way. And the disorientation really led to Manchester United's demise at the end. It was absolutely just unfortunate with the fact that player Donny van de Beek, who hasn't really gotten much of a chance in the side, played really well. He was the standout for Manchester United on a very poor day. But in the end, Alex, what a surprising defeat.
A surprising defeat, but like you said, based off of that result, to no surprise, Ole Gunnar Solskjær's time at United has officially came to an end. The following day was immediately sacked. Now, Phil, we can break this down a bunch of ways, But an interesting article that I came across today, I want to bring up. I don't know if you've heard this yet, but let me read to you what Paul Merson, as we all know, Arsenal legend, what he had to say on the situation, and we can speculate on this a bit. Now, again, this isn't an agenda against Cristiano Ronaldo. However, if you go back to the episode where we talked about Juve and the state of Juve towards the end of last season, I made a couple of points, and it's interesting to hear this sentiment re-articulated by the Arsenal legend. So, I'll just start us off real quickly. I feel sorry for Ole Gunnar Solskjær. He had a plan at the start of the season, having finished second last season. He chased Jadon Sancho for a long time, got him in, and he's given Edison Cavani another year. You could see his plan. You play Cavani every other game, you have Sancho on one side, Rashford on the other, and you have Mason Greenwood coming in and swapping around. You have pace, power, energy, youth, and skill. The lot. Then, just before the season starts, he gets given Ronaldo. I think he's thrown it all out of the window. From day one, there's not a better team with Ronaldo in it. You don't go 29 games unbeaten away without playing a certain way, and bringing Sancho in gave them another weapon to play that way. With Ronaldo up there, you don't have the weapon to play on the counter attack anymore. And Bruno Fernandes was their best player last season. He's hardly had a touch this season. I'm going to just end it off there, and again, it goes on to talk more about the Ronaldo situation, but Phil, I'm curious to see what you have to say about that.
Alex, I think there's only so far that we could put the blame on Ole Gunnar Solskjær for Manchester United's situation. As we all know, he's done as much as he could there. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough, but you could see how much he's done for this team just from the press conference after the match. You saw the emotion, you saw the passion in his eyes. He knew that he just couldn't do it. But also, you have to say that the hand that he was dealt was a bit unfortunate as well. You have to remember that when Ole Gunnar Solskjær came into Manchester United, it was not the best situation. Manchester United were kind of in a similar spot that they are in now when Ole Gunnar Solskjær started. And he got them back to what was very close to the top. And unfortunately, the board did not give him the right pieces to make that big step up to the top of the table, up to the top of Europe. And I think you have to say that, yes, part of it was Ole Gunnar Solskjær not being a top manager, but also part of the blame does have to go on the Manchester United board for not dealing him the proper hand, not giving him the best possible pieces to make it work.
Well, and to be fair to Ole, I feel like, well, one, first and foremost, to make that comment, yeah, I mean, I feel for him 110%. The amount of pressure going into any major club with that history and that long a trophy drought, with the success that prior managers has had, especially following up after the lackluster Mourinho run, you know, you have all this pressure mounted on Ole coming from a Molde side where we saw there he was a phenomenal youth manager, and I think I can throw my hands up and say, like, Ole's tactics, they proved to be pretty decent. Obviously, when things got bad, they got really bad. But at the end of the day, I think there was steady progression over the years. He dealt with those cards that he was given, while always not ideal. He definitely was able to build upon the squad, work with what he had, get the most out of some of his players, and bring up the potential of some others in that side. To that point, too, like you said, it doesn't all go to him. It goes to management. And again, I'm not going to go ramble on this, but I'm going to say what I've said with the Juve situation, and I'll say it again here. A team inherently builds itself and needs to be built around Cristiano Ronaldo when he joins that club, regardless of where the vision was going, regardless of where the club was going. And it just throws a wrench in the plans. You saw how the play was building up. You saw that it was this dynamic attack. And that was one piece that they were missing last year, was a strong threat on the right side. And that was Jadon Sancho. Again, center forward situation, Cavani came in and made a big splash last season and was able to help add that diversity with the lackluster performances by Anthony Martial. But nonetheless, I think at the end of the day, It's going to be a hard task for any manager that comes into this situation who can't build the club around their own. However, I do think that there are some options that can work with these pieces better than others. And I think that's a good pivot point. So there have been many a name thrown around of potential suitors for that position. Phil, of all the options that have been tossed around, or anything off the top of your head, who do you think is best suited to come take over this Manchester United side to try and one, scavenge the rest of the season and scrape together some sort of result, namely silverware? And then who do you think also in turn will be that who in turn will be best suited to bring Manchester United out moving forward?
That's a tough question to answer. I think the best option is very clear. I think the best option is Ten Hag from Ajax. I think he's just proven that he is a top manager in the fact that he could put just about any side into a good position to win through the way that he, let me just say, he's a tactician. That's his game. He is an absolutely brilliant manager when it comes to tactics. He has shown it at Ajax. He has put what many could say is a quite mediocre side out on the pitch and has them winning in the Champions League consistently against some of the best teams in Europe this season. You have to say that Dortmund are a top team in Europe this season, and Ajax has not only beaten them once, they've beaten them twice, Alex. So I think that Ten Hag would be the perfect manager for United in the fact that he could get more out of less for now. And then once you do add to the team that Ten Hag wants, you could really shape it into a world beater. But I don't think, Alex, going back to your question on how I think it's a tough one, Ten Hag isn't going to pick up right now. He's not going to pick up his things and leave Ajax, especially when he possibly thinks that he might be able to go far in the Champions League this year, especially now the fact that they're just about out of the group stage. They could possibly make another run for the quarter or semifinals. So Ten Hag is not going to get up and leave, at least not until the end of the season, if that. So for right now, if Manchester United do want a quick fix, unfortunately, it looks like maybe a Ragnick or maybe even sticking with Michael Carrick tend to be the best options for Manchester United going forward. I don't know what you think, Alex.
Well, to that point, like you said with Ter Hag, we have seen him come out and deny these rumors, and they're going to deny the rumors regardless. He's claimed that he hasn't heard from them or heard anything and that he's happy. I don't think, though, that he picks up his bags and leaves Ajax at this point of the season. However, if you're talking about a quick fix manager who I think one can work with experienced players, and I've went on this rant before, I feel like it may not be a long-term solution, but Zinedine Zidane might be that manager that if they want to try and splash the rest of the season and get big results, he might be the play that you need to make. Like I said, no one knows better about building a team around CR7 than Zinedine Zidane. I think that could be a play. Do I think it's like I said, do I think it's a good long-term solution? No, because I think that's planning for the now, and that's definitely not good. I mean, there's been talks too of even Ronaldo being appointed a player manager, and I at this point of the career with what they want to do I think that he may make a good manager down the line? Yes. Do I think he's ready to take that step now? No. So again, if I had to guess, I would say, knowing that everything else, namely players, will for the most part stay fixed, I think Zinedine Zidane is the best choice short term. Long term, though, that gets a little iffy for me.
A fair point, Alex. And we'll move on to the next match in the world this weekend. The biggest match in La Liga, or at least the most noteworthy. FC Barcelona getting a big 3 points. Whether you believe it was deserved or not, it happened. They got a 1-0 victory over Espanyol. In Alex, what was Xavi's first La Liga game as manager?
Yeah, there you go. Like you said, regardless of the result, regardless of the goal being a penalty, nonetheless, this is a crucial first step for Xavi to come out and win his first match as Barcelona manager, starting it off on the right foot. We know that he'll have a tough challenge ahead of him this week in the UCL with a match against Benfica, but he came out boldly today and said that he believes he'll win it, and that's something that you need. The club legend, again, spent the time in Qatar working his way up, learning the managerial ropes, but nonetheless, it's a good start. We really have to see what he can get out of this side and see how they can move forward the rest of the season.
Yes, Alex, it's not going to be easy starting a role in a top club coming from where Xavi came from. But of course, he has gotten off to the best start possible, I feel like. And if he's able to get the ball rolling, who knows? Maybe he could bring this Barcelona team back to a top 6 finish.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to see how that plays out and how they continue to move forward. But from there, we will jump over to Serie A on the Saturday. We'll quickly look at, there were two big matches actually. Juventus-Lazio, Juve coming out on top of Lazio 2-0. And Fiorentina-Milan. Fiorentina edging out Milan 4-3. The two huge matches in the title race, Phil.
Absolutely. And Vlahovic continues to flex his muscles in Serie A with 2 goals in the game against Milan. Milan now, of course, going into Sunday, hoping for a Napoli loss to stay tied atop Serie A. Juventus climbing back towards the top 6 with a big win against Lazio.
So on from there, we can jump over to... Where shall we jump next, Phil? Let's jump over to Ligue 1. The notable story from there, PSG over Nantes 3-1. An expected game for PSG to win. However, the big story coming out of that match, Phil, Lionel Messi scoring his first goal in league play.
And it was a brilliant goal as well from Messi. It could be massive to get Messi going. Not exactly maybe for Ligue 1. It looks like PSG has that wrapped up now. 13 points clear at the top. However, for Champions League and for Europe, it is vital that they get Leo Messi 100% fit and 100% up to par ability-wise. But it looks like he might be there, Alex.
Yeah, like you said, it's just a matter of, for Messi, getting those cogs turning and getting back into the thick of it. We know how good he can be. We know the synergy that he has with Neymar and that he can develop with a number of those players in that side. It's just a matter of getting there. And like you said, for PSG fans, it's the hope that that gear can get moving faster than not to be able to get the most out of Lionel Messi.
Of course, Alex. And we'll see in the Champions League going forward if Messi could lead PSG to the promised land. But going from there, Alex, we move over to what happened in Europe on Sunday, and we alluded to it. But Milan needed Napoli then to lose in order to stay atop Serie A with them jointly, and Napoli were not able to come out on top against Inter, losing 3-2. Massive goal in the 61st minute by Lautaro Martinez to put it away. Alex, are you surprised that Napoli fell after Milan fell?
Look, I'm really not. We know that this Serie A title this season is going to be an absolute dogfight to the end. It's not surprising to see the powerhouses that are Inter Milan coming out on top of Napoli. It takes those big players like your Çalhanoğlu, like your Martinez, those big attacking forces. They're going to be performing in big matches like this. And at the end of the day, it's not terribly surprising to see them come out on top. Now, one other notable story to come out of Serie A this past weekend, in a matchup that, again, you wouldn't necessarily see as being a headliner, Genoa-Roma, Jose Mourinho, in about the 75th minute, while looking to kickstart his attack, at that point the match was 0-0, turned to his bench, and while having the option of Nicolo Zaniolo on that bench, decided to go with Felix Afena-Gyan, the 18-year-old who had never made a professional start for Roma, was sent on by Mourinho and rewarded the manager with 2 goals by the end of that match. And Phil, let me tell you, like, both of those goals were absolutely class.
Absolutely, Alex. And if you want a nice feel-good story from the weekend, I think that's definitely it. Well, Mourinho giving the youngster a chance and Afinia Gayan coming through big time for Roma to keep their top 4 hopes alive in Serie A. It is going to be a massive, like you said, dogfight for not only the top spot, but just for the top 4 spots, I feel like, in the league. Gotta watch Serie A this season.
No, absolutely, things are going to be tight. Now, if we look over to Ligue 1, one of the biggest stories, unfortunate result, but Lyon and Marseille, a major matchup in that title race, ending 0-0, not because the match ended, but the match was ultimately abandoned by the referee after Dimitri Payet was hit in the head with a bottle. And Phil, this is getting out of hand in Ligue 1. These constant fan disruptions, violence, and interceptions that create this tension and, make the matches unable to be finished.
Absolutely, and I feel like there's something has to be done. We saw it earlier on. I believe it. I don't know if it was earlier on this season or towards the end of last season with Lens, with the fans running onto the pitch and attacking the opposing fans on the opposite side of the stadium. That ended up abandoning another match in Liga, and this isn't the first time that this has happened. I think, of course, there needs to be an example made. The league needs to be able to say, well, if you're going to do this, we are not going to let fans come to the stadium for matches. And Alex, I think I don't know if that's the right way of doing this, but definitely something needs to change because we're putting supporters and players' safeties at risk by allowing this to happen.
No, absolutely. And there's finger pointing there, which on a various number of levels, and it's really not conducive. This isn't going to be resolved until people in Ligue 1, the officials, the referees, the teams can all work together to solve this problem, because as long as there's finger pointing, nothing is going to be resolved and nothing will move forward. Unfortunate, but here's to hoping that that can be resolved real soon. Now, we'll look at 2 more matches Sunday. We're going to move out of our Big 5 leagues, and we're going to look stateside. First to the MLS, Phil, and let's look at the club that you support in the MLS, New York Red Bulls, in their playoff matchup against Philadelphia Union. And what happened there, Phil?
Alex, it was the most dramatic match of the weekend by far. New York Red Bulls and Philadelphia Union deadlocked at 0-0 through normal time and extra time up until the 123rd minute. Jacob Glesnes hitting a full volley from outside the penalty area into the bottom corner to send Philadelphia Union through to the next round of MLS playoffs. A heartbreaking way for the Rebels to go out, but definitely a beautiful goal by Jacob Glesnes to send his side through.
Absolutely. And we will stay stateside. However, the Canadian Championship that we'll talk about next. In the final for Toronto FC after an abysmal season, this was their one chance at silverware, their chance to make it into the CONCACAF Champions League, and after CF Montreal squeaking out of that 1-0, coming out the Canadian Cup champions, in a match that, again, Phil, I don't know how much of this you saw. I didn't watch too much of it. However, again, like I said, it was a gritty one that ended up in Montreal's favor.
Yeah, and Alex, it'll be interesting to see how Montreal build next season, especially now that they have a spot in CONCACAF Champions League. They do have a decent core with Victor Wanyama and George Mihailovic. We'll see if they add to that now with bigger silverware on the line next season.
And to that point, if we look across the pitch from them, for Toronto FC, this will be a crucial offseason to see how they move forward. There's going to be major outs. There's already talks that Josie Altidore's contract will be terminated or by mutual agreement, which means that Toronto FC opens up a designated player spot. There have been talks, Phil, Lorenzo Insigne to the MLS could be very mouthwatering for some phenomenal football.
Absolutely, Alex. I'd be very excited for him to come to the MLS and show what he can do. And I think that is a great way, Alex, to end our wrap up for the weekend. Crazy weekend of matches, which included not only shock wins, but also dramatic last minute goals. I think we got just about everything we could have asked for this weekend in football, Alex.
No, exactly. It's been a phenomenal week of football. It's a great week of football to look forward to, and we'll be back at you next week to recap that. Thank you again so very much for listening. Make sure again to follow us at Cleats Then Logic across social media. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and check us out wherever you listen to your podcast.
We'll have a lot more content coming out soon, but until then, meat first, soccer second. Have a great week.